Hello, I'm Steven,
And I'm Aaron.
and we've just seen Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. New film that's out in theaters right now, starring Christopher Guest, Michael McKean, Harry Shearer, and it is directed by Rob Reiner. So, Spinal Tap 2. This is another classic 80s film that there was talk of doing a sequel to for many, many years, and now finally it's here. I had seen Spinal Tap probably about 10 years ago or more when I was in my teens. You had not seen it, so we rewatched it. You watched it for the first time.
I had only ever seen small clips here and there, and weirdly, I was more familiar with their songs than the actual content of the documentary.
So, upon rewatching it and you watching it for the first time, it's way funnier to me now than it was when I was a teen, and I thought it was funny then, but I understand it so much more now.
Yeah, in reading about it after watching it, there's a lot of musicians and bands who have noted this as being surprisingly way more realistic than you would think, considering it's a mockumentary with actors playing the role of a band. But the thing about that first movie that makes it work so well is the dedication and commitment to the bit in every single way.
It does feel so real. If
Yeah.
you were to watch that movie on mute, you probably would think you were just watching a rock documentary about some group you've never heard of.
Yeah, I've seen so many documentaries and even documentaries about bands that looked and felt exactly like this.
Yeah, that Beatles documentary, Let It Be, very similar, very fly-on-the-wall documentary feeling. There's some talking head interview portions spliced in throughout Spinal Tap, unlike the Beatles, but it felt authentic, and that authenticity is what put that movie over.
It also helps that the actors actually are musicians.
Yes.
And wrote and performed everything in that movie. It's one of the weirdest fake documentaries because it's about a fake band, but it's a real people actually doing it. So they're kind of a real band and they have actually toured and performed.
They're a fake band, but they're also a real band. They're fake musicians, but they're actually musically talented, and they wrote these songs. Now there's a sequel all these years later. It's a risky move. Going to see a Spinal Tap sequel 41 years after the original film is not unlike going to see your favorite rock band 41 years after their prime. You know going in that it can't be the same, it can't be as good as it was, but you're hoping that the guys still have some of that magic present that made them special all those years ago.
Yeah.
And I do think that for the most part that magic is still here.
Yeah, I agree. I saw some people saying that the movie's not very funny or that it's not funny at all. It's certainly not as funny as the first movie. There's nothing in here that made me laugh anywhere close to as hard as some of the stuff in that first movie.
Yeah, that Stonehenge ornament had you howling with laughter in the original.
Small Stonehenge is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But the cast and their performances and them just kind of hanging out is what props this up. My problems with this movie don't actually have anything to do with them.
Yeah, the chemistry is still there. It feels like they never left, because technically they never did, because I'm sure in addition to performing for many years, those guys stayed in constant contact, and they still have that authentic Spinal Tap connection that unifies them and makes them feel real.
Yeah, in this one, there's a little bit more friction between the group because it is so long after the first one. The band, we find, broke up some years after that original film was released. Some stuff went on between Nigel and David.
Yeah, it's always them.
Yeah, it's always them.
Derek Smalls, it seems like, has kind of a Ringo Starr type role where seems like he's just happy to be there, whereas the friction and the tension is always between David and Nigel.
Yeah, but the whole reason they're forced to come back together is because the daughter of the manager in the previous movie has inherited the contract for Spinal Tap, and in it there's a clause that says that they have to have one more show, like a reunion show. So they're contractually obligated to do this, which is kind of a funny and meta joke about the movie itself, but also the performance is like, yeah, it's 40 years later. Of course, we kind of have to do this for ourselves, but mainly for the fans. And it's that contractual obligation that I think makes this as funny as it is, because for a while there is so much kind of tension and friction between the group, and you're just watching like old guys bicker with each other for most of the runtime, and then they kind of slowly start to gel and find their groove again.
Yeah, they run into several problems during the process of getting back together and trying to rehearse for this new tour. There is naturally difficulty in finding a drummer because all of the Spinal Tap drummers of the past have wound up dead,
Yeah.
and nobody wants to do it.
Yeah, so there's like a fun little section where they're trying to find a drummer, and eventually we settle on Dee Dee Crockett.
Yeah, a young, optimistic woman who's in great physical health because she's a vegan.
Yeah, played by a real life drummer. I think her name is Valerie Franco.
I think that's right, yeah.
She brings a surprising amount of energy and youth to the band, and even like the old guys themselves are surprised because of how unnatural this seems to them. There's also, again, more tension with the manager because we have two people running the show now. There's the daughter of the one from the original.
Yeah, Ian Fate's daughter is the manager now.
And then there's a kind of douchebaggy younger guy who's like ironic because he doesn't actually like music.
Yeah, the concert promoter is this tone-deaf dipshit who doesn't like music, doesn't understand it, could not name you one song, could not perform any song, and he doesn't seem to realize that these dudes are old and can't do what they used to, so he becomes very strict about them being physical and tries to and treats them as though they're still 20 and have the energy they used to. So he tries to get them back into shape so they can perform with physical energy on stage, and it leads to some humorous moments.
Yeah.
He employs a fitness instructor.
There's some pretty good comedic sections with that, with them trying to exercise, and just the fact that I hadn't even thought about it, but then the guy walks in, he's like, what are they doing? They've been sitting down the entire time. And it clicked in my head. It's like, yeah, they have been sitting this entire movie, haven't they? It's like, they're going to have to stand up and do something eventually, right? So that is pretty funny as well. But yeah, it's the same core concept as the first movie. It's a fly-on-the-wall kind of documentary about just watching these people exist with each other and the problems that they have to face in putting together this show or just continuing to be a band.
So, while it is funny, and I did find myself laughing a lot, not initially in like the first 15 minutes, I think a lot of it was missed at the start, but once they get back together and find themselves getting back into the swing of things, it got a lot funnier. But never as laugh out loud funny as the original movie. But, though it is funny, the problems also start during the sections where it gets good. Namely, there's an excess of celebrity cameos.
Yeah, for a while there's kind of a montage of just like celebrity.
Particularly when they're trying to find a drummer for the band, they have several FaceTime cameos from several famous musicians.
Yeah, literally phoned in performances.
Yes, precisely, which when you say it like that, kind of makes it sound funnier than it is, but it also just seems like, oh, well, we could get these people, so here they are. And then there's two extended cameos, you might even just say full-blown supporting roles, from Paul McCartney and Elton John.
Yeah, Paul McCartney's appearance, I think, was kind of the funniest use of the celebrity cameos. I don't think they really gave Elton John a ton to do.
Yeah. The Paul McCartney one is the best of all of them because he is naturally funny and he does do a good job riffing with the rest of the guys. But I'm also of two minds about his role, which is that to have one of the masterminds of the greatest rock band to ever exist hailing Spinal Tap as musical geniuses kind of undermines the joke.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say about it as well, is having one of the Beatles be such a fan of Spinal Tap legitimizes Spinal Tap in the way that they shouldn't be. Kind of the joke is that Spinal Tap sucks.
Yes. But at the same time, it's coming from Paul McCartney, who, while he is a musical genius, is also the Beatle with probably the most controversial solo career because a lot of his stuff was written off as bubblegum pop and just useless fluff, which I don't entirely agree with. But I guess that does make it kind of funny that the man who wrote Let Him In would be praising Big Bottom as a musical masterpiece.
Yeah, it didn't bother me so much. I think it was more with the other celebrity cameos. Like when Elton John pops up and starts praising Spinal Tap, it's like, okay, we're going a bit far here. Like Chad Smith talking about like how great Spinal Tap is. Like we really don't need to be doing this.
Although I think Elton John actually has performed with Spinal Tap in reality, and
Okay.
this also isn't the first time Elton has praised a musician of Spinal Tap's caliber. He also appeared in a documentary about Chef from South Park.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
But yeah, his role isn't as funny as Paul McCartney's.
Yeah, Paul McCartney, he just gels better with the group, and I like the back and forth because another like point of contention in the group is the fact that David is so strict and so controlling about how the band sounds and what they play, and Nigel is a little bit more free form and creative, and he's got 17 different pedals on his pedal board that do all sorts of different things, but he doesn't really need them, but he likes to have fun. So yeah, seeing David being kind of the controlling one, going back and forth with Paul McCartney about what makes a good song or what makes a good chord progression, or the direction of a song, it's really funny to watch.
Yeah, he passive aggressively turns down every attempt that Paul makes to give him pointers.
Yeah. So yeah, the celebrity cameos overall, I wish there was fewer of them, and if you were gonna have them, I wish they tied more into the joke of like Spinal Tap being like crappy, and nobody liking them anymore or at all. There is a little bit of joke about modernism with David. Like when we first meet him and we catch up on what everybody's been doing, we find out that David has like won awards for hold music.
Yeah, he writes jingles for telephones on hold.
He's got this big grand studio, and Marty DeBurgi's like, wow, look at all this stuff. And he's like, you use all this? He's like, no, I do everything right here. And he's got a little laptop.
Yeah, that was one of the best jokes.
Yeah, you have everything on your computer. My other kind of major problem is that if there feels like there's less of a commitment to it feeling and looking like a documentary.
Yes, exactly. That is exactly what I was going to say, too. The filmmaking here isn't as strong. The illusion of fly on the wall is shattered multiple times.
It doesn't feel like old style in the room with everybody right next to the person documenting stuff that's going on. It feels more like a The Office style documentary.
Yeah,
where there's like multiple cameras and multiple angles, and
the shots are too cinematic for Spinal Tap. The best example was when Nigel was sitting on a staircase looking at his phone, FaceTiming with his wife, and there's two camera angles, one that's like right beneath him looking up at him as he's looking at his phone talking, and then there's another camera that we can't see, but it's over his shoulder looking down at his phone.
Yeah,
and it's reverse shot, and it's like,
if one camera was filming from one angle, you would see the cameraman from the other angle.
Yeah, it's like if this was the old Spinal Tap, there'd just be a wide angle shot of Nigel talking on his phone, and we'd simply hear the voice of the person he was talking to.
So yeah, it's way more cinematic, which I didn't really care for. I don't know if it's like a stylistic choice this time, or if they didn't want to commit so much to it being a documentary, or if they just didn't care, or if they didn't notice. But yeah, that was a big problem for me, because there's another sequence later where David kind of goes off on his own for a few minutes.
Yeah, and despite the fact that Martin DeBurgi says follow him, there are some camera angles in that sequence of David going off on his own that you would not see.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, how did they anticipate that he would be coming down this part of the street, and then they just have a camera ready, to watch him walk? Like, the shot continuity and the continuity of the concept of it being a documentary is constantly broken throughout the whole thing. That was my biggest problem, I think, with the movie.
Yeah. Rob Reiner has a much larger role in this film than he did in the past.
Yeah, which, thinking about it also, is kind of a negative, I think, because here it feels like his character is asking way less interesting questions, and it's more like he's just like
stating the obvious.
Yeah, he's just there to kind of observe and then state what's going on.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, his role in this feels not well thought out or not well explored.
Yeah, back then he was just young Rob Reiner. Probably not as big a name at the time, so it was easier for him to blend in and make it believable that he was just this guy, Martin DeVerge. But today it's Rob Reiner, famous filmmaker. So
Yeah.
we got to expand his role.
Yeah, he's like a full-on character now, where he really should be more in the background.
All the actors do a great job, but Christopher Guest, I think, was probably my favorite.
Yeah, the movie doesn't really like go super in depth with the characters or try to be like, schmaltzy or overly sincere or like have some kind of thoughtful point or like a heart to it. But there is something kind of to his character, especially where it feels like he's grown up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I did like that as well. Like, he seems like he's a little more mature than everybody else.
Yeah, he's got a spouse, he's got a business that he's running that he seems to genuinely like, that brings him joy.
Yeah, it's like he still enjoys the music, but the music is not all he is anymore. So that was kind of interesting. I think he was probably my favorite too.
I noticed that his British accent was considerably better than the others. I looked it up after the fact. It's because Christopher Guest is part British.
Yeah, I mean, it was the same way with the old movie too.
Yeah, Michael McKean is great, but being much older, he doesn't carry the British accent as well, and it's really apparent whenever he has to like raise his voice.
I was gonna say he's got the Tom Hanks problem, where anytime he screams or yells, it doesn't sound like a British man yelling. It sounds like Michael McKean.
Yeah, there was a moment where he was screaming down at the band, "Do we have any towels?" And I was just thinking, Jimmy, are you grounded?
Yeah. I think them being older, kind of like with Freakier Friday, it's just very pleasant and nice to have them around and nice to just kind of hang out with them for a while. Another thing that I appreciated that I thought for sure was going to be an issue was they don't use these songs as like a crutch here. I thought that this was just going to be like a low effort, hey, we'll get the guys back together and we'll watch them play all the old hits and that's basically it. And you get to go home. But no, they actually save most of that for later, or it's like well spaced out through, all the songs are paced out pretty well.
And they still sound pretty good.
Yeah, I thought for sure it was just going to be like, okay, well, here's Spinal Tap, they're old, and here you go, watch them play all the old hits. But that's not the movie that they made. Yeah, and when you finally do get the big performance, like, it is funny and fun to watch. But even that, it's like, it is also kind of a joke.
Yeah, it has an ending worthy of Spinal Tap.
Yeah. The legacy of Spinal Tap is like anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
And the likelihood of that is further intensified by them being so old and frail.
Yeah.
So what is your final number grade on a scale of 1 to 11?
Oh. Man, I wish I could give it an 11. I can give the first one 11. I can give this one probably like a 7.
Yeah, exactly. That's mine too.
Yeah, I really liked it for the most part. After a while, the kind of douchey manager guy started to wear thin on me, and I was waiting for him to, like, them to do something with him. And there really is, like, no resolution to his character. It's just like, okay, he's no longer a factor.
Yeah, he just kind of fades away after a while.
Yeah, like, too many celebrity cameos that kind of go on for too long. And the lack of commitment to the documentary style really, really, really hurts this one for me. But the guys are really funny to watch. It's nice to watch them bicker with each other and kind of reform and rediscover Spinal Tap. So, pretty pleasant experience with some problems here and there, I'd say.
Yeah, also 7 out of 10. I had fun. I enjoyed myself. It turned out a lot better than I was afraid it might.
Yeah, I was pretty worried going into it, especially after watching the first one. I just was in my head like, oh God, no, please just don't ruin this.
And then one other minor issue I had, or maybe it's significant because it's like a storytelling issue, was the source of the friction between David and Nigel. It doesn't reveal itself until like the very end of the movie, and then it's very quickly resolved.
Yeah, it's like Dumb and Dumber conflict resolution. It's like here's the scene where the conflict happens, and the very next scene, oh, well, it's over now.
Still, the guys are still funny. They can still perform the music well.
And it's only like, what, 85 minutes?
And yeah, they thankfully kept this short, which is what it needed to be. Overall, a worthwhile experience, and I'm glad it exists. So
Yeah, there's not many things that can match that first one for like what it is, but yeah, I'm happy to have this. If it's not as good as the first one, that's fine.
that's Spinal Tap 2, The End Continues. Definitely see it.